Hello and welcome to Friday with the Chakontas. I am Mr. Chakonta
And I'm Mrs. Chakonta.
and we are back with our series of FWT Reacts.
Yes. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much to our listeners. Thank you for to our subscribers. Thank you for following us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and subscribing to YouTube. But if you're not following us or you're not subscribed to our channel, please do. If this is the first time, I hope you enjoy this episode. And can I get straight into it?
Yeah. What do you have for us today?
All right. So I've got the story.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, I am 53 and my wife is 49.
Yeah.
The issue that has brought me concerns is my wife's properties. I married this woman 3 years ago. She lost her husband when she was 42 and I met her with 3 kids. The husband left her 5 houses and 2 big farms, which are doing very fine. For a year now, I've been asking my wife to at least change 2 houses and put my name so that in case I die, my kids and my family can inherit. She has refused. I need your advice. I feel frustrated.
This one is a tricky one because ideally, from if we know the concept of marriage, we have to say, look, if we're coming together, there's an aspect of where whatever you have is we bring together and we start one family together. And now my other question, I think you can, if we break it down, there are elements of why we have to analyze here.
Okay.
The request of him being put on the papers, I don't think is wrong.
Okay.
His reasons, I think, are wrong.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Okay, I hear you.
I think if we expand it more, then I think we can have more of a discussion of why is this thing such a big issue? Why is this person holding on? And why does this person want to get in? And I think we also have to now understand also the dynamics of even her properties. Are they her properties or she just has a share of those properties?
That's true.
And how has she portrayed it to him?
Yeah.
Because how many kids does she have?
She has 3 kids.
Yeah, so we don't know, like, let's say, for example, if we have to go we're taking it, maybe it's a Zambian law.
Yeah.
Based on Zambian law, the kids own 50%. And then she owns a 30% or something like that.
Yeah.
That's if he died in state. And then if it was by law, I don't know, if let's say, for example, by law, she's the one who gets the properties. We don't know. We'll make assumptions. Let's make assumptions based on, like, let's say there was no will.
Okay.
And then that's the situation. And we're saying that there is an ownership that she has. And I think that ownership should not be underestimated. So him basically saying, I want to be part of those documents.
Yeah.
It becomes an issue now where we have to really understand why is he so pushing on those documents. But again, now there's another aspect. Is like, this is now complicated because now he's married. If something had to happen and she had to die in state, I don't know what the law is.
Yeah, it depends.
Does the law now apply again and again because now she's lost 2 husbands? So now,
because he says my kids, so there's an assumption that he has children outside.
Yeah.
Like, well, not outside. Like he has children. He brought children to the table.
Yeah.
And based on to be fair, although I'm basing it on age, although that doesn't necessarily mean it's true, and the fact that he doesn't mention it, there's a chance they don't have children together. So I feel like he's talking about his kids.
Yeah.
Although they might have children together, we don't know.
Yeah. And another question, maybe we're only getting one side of it. What if she's on his document?
Yeah.
And I think maybe we're having an assumption of he's not brought anything to the table and he's requesting.
Yeah, that's true. Because in this situation, it sounds like he hasn't brought anything to the table, but actually he could have brought something to the table that they're both benefiting from.
Yeah.
And legally, if he died, she would benefit from his stuff. But then the way it sounds like, it's like if he died, all these things are just in her name or the children's name, like it's just on her side. So there would be no way for his children to also inherit. And I kind of see it, to be fair, actually, when you really dig deep into it, you know, like from the surface, it seems like he's so selfish. Sorry, babe, I don't know if you finished. I just like talking. Sorry. Like he sounds very selfish, and you're just like, come on, you're the man. Like, what are you doing? What are you saying? But like you said, there's two elements to it. I think there's the element of, yes, actually you are one in marriage and you are one family. And so when you're having things like, oh, this one's got this name, this one's got this name, it can create a lot of tension and division and problems in the future. But in this situation, actually, we don't know the other side, because if he is also bringing something to the table, that means, and let's say they're living in his house, for example, and the other houses are being rented, or even if they're living in one of the houses that she has, and his house is being rented, there's a chance that maybe they are sharing the fruits of all these houses. Like, and the way it sounds like, I feel like even though he's saying that it's doing well, it seems like maybe she does share. There's no insinuation that maybe she keeps the money that's coming from these houses to herself. I don't know. I'm assuming she does share. Because his main issue is about death. So it means, well, I'm sharing my stuff, and right now you're sharing your stuff. But if I was to die, my kids would not benefit. So his kids, he's been sharing all along with these other new children that he has. But when it comes to the nitty-gritty of things, if he was to die, it seems that actually the other children, like there's a chance, like you said, if she's also on the papers and the other children are in his papers, so the other children will benefit from both ends. So from the previous father and from this new father.
What do you mean? Like
her children would benefit from him as well if he died, but his children may not benefit from her. But we don't know the full story. Maybe. That's another. So does he say he's got children? No, he says for my family and my kids. Now, when he said family, I don't know which family he's talking about. I suspected he's talking about his, and I think this is where like my head is at. What do you mean? Like his family, like his family, like his brothers, his sisters, or his parents? Because he's already mentioned kids. So if he just meant his children, then I think I would have a bit more empathy. But now he's now talking about his family, because like you said, there's the law of where, or there's just in general when people die, there is this thing where you share with your immediate family and then also with your extended family, like maybe your brothers or sisters or your parents as well. Or let's just say parents. So it's like he's talking about wanting her inheritance to be shared with his kids as well as his family. And I think I'm just like, come on, like, dude. But hold up. I think the reason why we're here is because this thing needed to have been discussed, because it seems like, or maybe if it was discussed, but a decision should have been made. And I'm not gonna lie, as much as I've been saying it, it makes you question, like, did you it does actually make you question somebody and say, well, do you really love me, or did you marry me because you saw all these things that maybe I possessed, that you're so frequently bringing it up in conversation that you're now like, oh, I'm not gonna benefit. Or there is that element of, oh, we're a family, we need to work together.
But I think also but this is another thing maybe we need to understand. Marriage by definition means you are one. So my issue here is, now we also need to now go to the nitty-gritty aspects of why are we getting married? If I can't bring what I have to the table and we share together, what's yours is yours and what's mine is mine, then what's the point of us getting married? We have to look at it also from that front. Because if you wanted to keep those things, just stay by yourself. I can see that and all that stuff. So I understand where the argument, especially if we come from it from a biblical perspective, if you want to keep those things, stay by yourself and keep them to yourself. But then I think this is now the complication. This is what we're saying. As much as we are saying that, look, whenever we have those conversations and saying, look, the only place where we have commitments and lasting bonds until death is marriage, and it comes with other benefits, which is benefits in doing things together. You are mine, I'm yours, and everything like that. what's yours is mine, and what mine is yours. That's why I'm saying there has to be a level of clarity and also understanding that when you're going into this relationship, just don't go with the aspect of, oh, I'm in love, everything is just all rosy, or whatever, and you thinking, oh, everything, you're hearing the right things that you want to hear, and you're not actually consulting God as you're going through if this is the right marriage that you need to be in. And somebody can actually even talk, just seeing your things, they can talk your talk and basically sweet talk you to the point of now where you are married and now this becomes a problem. But him, he was eyeing something else. In the same way, also ladies can also do the same thing. We have stories of where ladies can do the same thing, and I think maybe even like I'll ask you another question later.
I know what you want to ask me because I was gonna ask the same.
Okay, ask the question.
Is maybe. It the like if the roles were reversed?
Yeah, if the roles were reversed, would we feel the same thing as the way he's feeling? Well, maybe I'll ask you that question.
I don't think it would be as intense.
Yeah,
I think there would be an element of, oh, come on, like, okay, it's his, but you'll be thinking, you wouldn't think the way you. I don't think the first word that will come to my mind is like the woman is being a gold digger. I feel like maybe she's just trying to protect her assets or because whereas I feel like in this scenario, the first thing that is coming to my mind is this man a gold digger? Does that make sense?
Yeah, but
so I don't know why. I don't know why, but I do feel an element of it probably is the role in which the roles that men and women are supposed to play.
Yeah.
And in this situation, when it comes to him, it seems like she has upper hand in terms of financial stability.
Yeah, but financial stability is not something that we also see in scriptures in a definition of what a man should play.
Well, that is what yes, I see how? I don't agree with that.
Financial stability is a fruit of working hard.
Yeah,
maybe,
but it's
an aspect
it comes from, you're the man, right? So you're going to get the woman to come and stay with you. Yeah. So you, as the man, are the one who has the assets. So even in Bible, when we have situations where the women are going to be wed, the man goes and presents gifts, and the woman goes with her maid to the man's house.
Yeah, and so I agree.
That's what I'm. So yes, that man is not just financially stable, but it's not, that maybe, it is financial stability, yeah.
No, but we also have to look at things in the context of how the scriptures were written. If we look at it, let's say in the Old Testament times, those were like, some of these things were like either somebody is passing on certain things through generations and generations, so you inherit as you are living with your parents, you get me? Mm-hmm. That's one way. And then the woman is coming in with something like that. I give you an example of, like, let's say the story of Ruth and Boaz. Mm-hmm. Ruth and Boaz, the wife had an estate, as in Naomi, had an estate that needed to be redeemed. Mm-hmm. She owned that estate. Mm-hmm. So she came with something after her sons and her husband passed away. Yeah. So she comes with something. So now let's say, for example, like now Boaz, the next person who was supposed to redeem that, and the way he was going to redeem was marrying Ruth and then now continuing the line of the family there. But she comes with something. Some people will basically say, the other person who refused and said, no, I need to focus on my whatever, he'll just be looking, oh, she's got an estate, I'll marry her. Some people will say, maybe Boaz, if we never knew Boaz's side of the story of how wealthy he was, we'll basically say, did Boaz actually just get married so that he can get to Naomi's estate? You get what I mean?
No, I hear your point, but my point was the reason why because the statement has come from the foundation where you said, why is it that, how would you feel if the roles were reversed?
Yeah.
So if this was the man, so if a woman was the one now asking for her name to be on the title, but now that it's the man, I said the reason why that is because we see men in the role of being on the upper hand. So we see men, even the example that you're showing with Boaz, you've talked about how rich Boaz was. Yeah. And even in the examples of marriage, the man was the head and the man was the one who was going to get the woman, and the woman was coming to. And yes, it doesn't mean that woman was poor. Some of these women were rich. Some of these women did come from rich families, or some of these women did have estates, or some of these women, they were rich. Do we even be able to send your wife with a maid? I mean, that would be nice.
Yeah.
But anyway, my point is, the man holds that level of responsibility overall in the home. So the reason why this feels different and the attack feels like, whoa, guy, like it rings differently to if the roles were switched, is because we're reversed, is because he's the man.
I agree, but I disagree. I agree on the side of, yes, a man is called to provide and protect. That's a role. I can provide and protect. I can give you a house, food, and everything like that, but it doesn't mean that I'm wealthy.
No, that's not what I mean.
I can provide the basic needs.
No, that's okay.
That's okay. You may come from wealth. And I think another thing maybe we're also now forgetting is some of the things is different when you've inherited wealth or you've also established yourself to a point of where you feel I've come with a certain level of wealth. And I think this is also another aspect of, it's a second marriage due to circumstances. So now, how do we fashion that statement? So let's say, for example, if we're looking at, the only example I can give is the Naomi and Boaz, because it's a second marriage, right? And that's where we can get the example from that.
Naomi and Ruth.
Naomi and Boaz and Ruth, yeah, we can see that. And then for the other one, let's say, for example, like Rachel and who is it? Jacob? Not Jacob. Ishmael. Isaac. Yeah, good. Sorry.
Like
Rachel and Isaac. Not Rachel. Rebecca and Isaac. Yeah.
Okay.
Rebecca and Isaac. We see a different side of, he's going to seek for a wife, and it's like their first marriage, and we see what happens in that sense. But we're also saying I feel like there's also cultural liberty on how we express that. But the general sense is those guys become one. And then if also in our sense, I think there's also a level of cultural liberty on how we express our marriages, as long as we're not sinning in a situation. So on this front, I know on the side where people are like, okay, people will frown on this situation, but I'm saying, but this is just the situation that has come about, because it's like, look, she's come with a level of wealth. She wants to get married. We want to get married. So we're getting married and we're becoming one. So there has to be an understanding of what's yours is mine and what's mine is yours. If you're coming from another sense of where like there's this saying of what's yours is mine and what's mine is mine, then that becomes a problem. And I think maybe this is why the frustration is kicking in. So now we have to understand that marriage, it unites you in a sense of where you have to share all these things.
Yeah.
But I also have to be a bit cautious on these things, because I'm saying we have to also understand the level of complexities that can occur in certain situations, especially with the aspect of death. He cannot basically just say, because I'm married to your mom, that means I'm your new father and I own everything. That's not what the law says. The law is there also to protect, so that the other people should not be.
Yeah, that's true, because you can't trust. Not that you can't. Yeah, it's true what you're saying. You can't trust. Actually, no, you can't trust everybody. Yes, we'd hope that in this situation, this is a trustworthy man. But I think in the fact that he's only asking for his name to be on 2 houses shows that he's not being too greedy.
It's too much, though. It's also too much. Because
I'm saying that, there's fear that sometimes women have done this or men have done this, and then the other person has run away with the properties or whatever. Let's just say it was one property, and the kids now end up suffering.
Yeah.
But actually the fact that it's only 2, at least they will have other, the other kids still have other means of having money. If he was to be dodgy, and it's not guaranteed that he's dodgy, maybe he's just, but about his family, he needs to sort out his family. The thing is, I also feel like I'm just trying to give him the benefit of the doubt in one way, but it's really, really hard. It's really hard in this one. But I also feel like he also has to come to a level of contentment to what he can provide for his children. So like, he hasn't told us his financial abilities. We don't know whether he's got a home where with, you know, maybe he married her and he's now living in her house. We don't know what his financial status is, but it's his job to look after his wife and his children, and also to try, if he wants an inheritance for them, he needs to work for them to make an inheritance for them.
Yeah, that's true. And
for especially if he also wants an inheritance for his family, like you've got to go out there and work and do it.
And I think that's the problem. His bank, if we're just taking on face value, it feels like he's banking on this her. Woman's wealth to basically now establish his family.
And I think he needs to be content with the fact that we're not saying you don't have to compete with her either. Like if he, you know, because it's not like work. There's people who get paid from, there's a huge what am I trying to say, like you know, some people get paid was 1 and some people get paid 10, right? So it's not about trying to compete and compare with her. It's just about doing what you can do. So if your job only allows you to bring in 1 in the home and she's bringing 6, then do what you can do with your 1. And if it means you leaving 0.1% for your children, you've done a good job. That is okay. But I feel like maybe also it's him being content in what he's able to provide with himself, his hands, for his children and his family. And maybe I wonder how this also brings about that situation where you have a woman who maybe earns more than you.
Yeah.
So there's a chance maybe it may not, it suggests that she earns more than him from the business, or maybe, I don't know, those properties, they're not living in them. So maybe they're being put on rent. So maybe she's bringing in more in the house.
She says, the husband is the one who left those things.
Yeah.
But let me give you an example. We had a discussion like on previous episodes about, remember that girl who the father, the woman got married and then she had a child before. And then she was now trying to get the aspect of fighting the aspect of the siblings of the father.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe explain it.
No, there was a woman who before she got married, she had a child, so with another man, and that man was nowhere to be seen in the picture. But then she met another man who really loved her and had child, and took that new child, her child, into the home as his, although they never changed the last name of that child. So they then ended up having another child. So now they have 2 children, but one is just the woman's. But the man really embraced that child of the woman's and treated her like his own. Yeah. But then that man died, and then the family were not happy. They did not feel like that child, which was her child initially, only biologically, should also inherit equally the inheritance that the man left.
Do you think,
as with the other girl?
Do you think it's the same thing here?
I feel like it is the same thing.
Yeah. So
I think it is the same thing where that woman wanted her daughter to earn the same as the sibling, because they were being treated the same. Yeah. But we did say, I don't know if, maybe I can't remember, but I feel like we did say that she needs to, I understand what she's saying. Like, because I remember making a comment saying, I don't feel like it's fair in one way, because I wouldn't want my children going to 2 different schools, for example. Let's say they were saying, they can pay for this girl to go to private school, and then this other child is going to public school. And I felt like this could create a division and a separation in the siblings. But at the same time, I also felt like she also had to accept the fact that, I don't know if that's what I said, she also needed to accept the fact that this child was not legally adopted and was not legally their husband's. So
I don't think you had the same attitude.
I don't know. I feel like I'm changing my mind. Me too. This is why I'm saying I'm not sure what I said. But yeah. So she also has to accept that maybe she can allow money to come in and then she can divide it however she thinks.
You said that.
Is good for her home to keep peace, but she shouldn't demand that the child gets the same. And she just needs to accept the situation that, look, I had this child from another man who's not present, but the situation that I'm in right now, I can't expect to this, because the will was not written. If there was a will, it's different. because there was no will, I think she also had to budge a little bit and give in.
Yeah. And I think this is I'm saying.
But you said, you said she could claim as a dependent.
Yeah.
Because she was living in the house as a dependent. So although she may not get the same percentage as the other child, at least she possibly could get something.
But that now becomes an issue of where the law steps in, and then the law has to define what a dependent is on a situation. But it's very difficult.
Yeah, I think that one would have been easy to define, because I think that time the baby was really small when the man got it, and the baby always lived with them. And I think the way she described it, there was evidence to suggest that, you know, they used to send to school and all of that and look after the child. But in this situation, like the courts, I mean, what are you going to say? Like, there's nothing you can say. And I think if the titles are generally in her name and then she dies, I think that is also difficult, because if they're legally married, he has some level of inheritance from her.
That's what I'm saying.
But maybe not his children.
Yeah, I think maybe he can get the aspect of, well, there's this thing called like as a spouse you can maybe benefit or something like that, but it doesn't now drop down to your children and everything like that. I think I don't know what the law.
I think that would make sense. As a spouse, you benefit, but then your own children may not benefit. And I think that's good enough.
Yeah.
But then the problem, he's not worried about if she died. I think maybe he knows that if she died, he still can have some percentage. The problem he has is if he died, he knows that if he died, actually, there's nothing that anyone can say about this woman and her children's properties.
Yeah. And I think this is what I'm saying. It's the tricky side of marriage. And I think that's why I think we either have to be all in, or we have to be clear before we get into these relationships.
I think we have to be clear.
And I'm not an advocate for drawing up prenups and everything like that. But if this is a situation that can destroy your marriage and everything like that, if this is something of a hard situation that you cannot budge on, I agree. Maybe the best way is
this one might need
you have to draw up a prenup
or a will.
And I think I think
to protect the children.
I think maybe to protect the children.
More for the children. Yes. I don't think it should be. And I think it is tough, because the thing is, are you saying your children are more important than his children?
Yeah.
But the thing is, that person who died also left let's just say, if they left a will, there's also an element of where we need to respect that. Because if that person, the father who died, said this can be given to my children, and then now you start giving to other people's children, do you get it?
Yes,
do you get the mess?
I agree.
So I feel like there's also an element of, if this was left as an inheritance for their children.
We're assuming that there's no will.
No. We're assuming that there's a will you assumed, but I'm assuming it's already been divided, you see. So even if there was no will, the courts have already allocated. So there's a percentage that is for her children, and there is a percentage that is for her. So maybe a percentage that is for her children should not be touched, and a percentage that is for her, she can share with her husband.
So maybe do you think,
because the children inherited that from their father?
Yeah.
So now it's not time. I feel like it's a bit tricky to now start.
Let's make an assumption here.
Tough.
Let's make an assumption of, let's say the man was so wealthy, and that's her cut. The 2 farms and the 5 houses.
Yeah, I hear you. And then, so what about her children?
No, the children are
already sorted.
They're sorted out. They've got their own cut. Her cut is the 5 houses
we're greedy
what's
people
this?
As human beings. I don't see why.
And 2 farms.
I know if the man, if it was the other way around, we'd be like, oh, this man don't want to give me anything. Oh, I do everything for him. I cook, I clean, I iron his dress. You don't want to put my name on the title deed.
Yeah.
Now when it's the other way around, it just seems so weird.
And you see, this is where the entitlement comes in. There's a level of entitlement that we have, and I think
sin.
Yeah, no, it is sinful. It's sinful.
Even I can see. I'm just like, that's wrong. Because if the roles were reversed, if this story was the other way around, I know if I was to look in the comments for this guy, I know everybody calling him lazy. Yeah, I know, everybody calling him, you can't do anything. What is in make an inheritance for your own children? But I know the comments would be very different if the roles were reversed.
I know. And I think this is another thing where I'm saying, like, look, marriage is a serious thing. And I think that's what I'm saying. You don't go into it lightly, one. But also on the other side, you also see there's a beautiful side of marriage. And I think the beautiful side of marriage is all these complications that you may have. I think these things ultimately are that's just material things. And I think we need to, if we're getting married because of the material things, these are the things that will break us up. If we're getting married because of other factors other than the love that you guys have and the bond that you guys have in Christ, it will drive you in different directions. And then there will start be an aspect of comparing. How much do you bring? How much do you have? I have this, I have that, and ABCD. And it's just like, even let's say, for example, she has all those things. It's her prerogative to basically say, whatever I have, I'm leaving for my husband. That's okay. That's okay. But this one is a tricky one. It's a tricky one in that sense.
It's a tricky one because there's kids.
There are kids and everything like that. And there's no right answer. There's no wrong answer here. So I'm thinking on the frustration side, I see also like here where I think the law of the land helps if the guy is trying to manipulate, because I think there's also another side where I'm also thinking, I'm just like, look, sometimes women, they're just so in love to the point of where their love also now puts their children in a very awkward position. And now this guy is now demanding all these things, but he just came 3 years ago. And I think this is now where the issue now becomes of, why did that person come? But this is the danger of, this is the other side of where we see, this is what the legal binding of of marriage is. It's legally binding, not only in the aspect of the law of the land, but also in God's side. It means whatever you are bringing, you have to share. And if this comes to a point of where they need to share that, so his request is not something that is wrong, I think. But maybe the way he's viewing it is something that needs to be questioned. Are you understanding what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Needs to be questioned from the value of why what's this. And I think Hano on the side is not something that is wrong. But again, we also have to question her no. And why why is she saying no?
Yeah.
Is her no on the basis of, okay, why I feel that you've got evil intentions and you are trying to get a certain aspect from me? Or is her no from the aspect of where she's just being greedy? And she's also saying, I'm seeing what you're doing, but this is what my husband left for me. So why are you coming to and talking about what my husband left for me in this situation? And I think this is what now these things become very, very challenging. And I think that's why second marriages, I don't know how they go, to be honest. And I think there has to be a level of grace and a level of wisdom as you are getting into this, because you are going in with a level of where it's not the norms of where you meet each other and you're starting together.
Yeah.
But it's also like you're coming with a lot of information, and the information can be, I have children. And it's not just second marriages. If you've got, as we've said, if you've got a child outside the marriage, you're coming with that child and everything like that. How do you, and this is like you're blending things and you're trying to make it work. But as we always say, that God gives us wisdom to actually deal with these situations to the best of our ability.
Exactly.
Yeah, do you want to add on that?
No, I think I like what you've said.
Yeah,
how you've summarized it.
Yeah, what's your final thoughts?
My final thoughts. I don't know what my final thoughts are. I think I'll end with how you started. I think there are two elements to this. There's nothing wrong with him asking, but how did you start?
There's nothing wrong with asking, but we have to question why he's asking.
Why he's asking. And no, there was another part, like, yeah, I think it's deeper. It's not as simple. Actually, my final thoughts are the surface of this makes the guy look selfish and greedy and maybe like a gold digger, but actually there's a lot more to it, and I think it's complicated when you're in marriage.
Yeah.
And I also think sometimes we do hold on to material things a lot.
Yeah.
And and I think it's hard when you I mean, knowing that you have, oh, I have 5 properties and now I want to share. Like, I think sometimes it's easier to just share, I have £100, here you go. But now when it comes to something that's massive, you maybe want to hold on. And like you said, I think in marriage it's a bit different. And ideally, we should really be able to say we're one, and then ideally put everything that we have on the table when we come. I think that's ideal, and then decide together how you move forward with it. But then I think you have to, and if this is a situation where there's a second marriage, it's a bit different if the other kids are involved and they have an inheritance. But let's just say all of these properties are hers.
Mm-hmm.
Then I do think that she should be able to bring them to the table. Well, not 2 years or 3 years later, but this is a conversation they should have had a long time ago. This is why we're having problems now.
Yeah.
And he's going to look, but then maybe he was scared to bring it out before because he thought she's going to think I want to love her for our properties. But hey, you got to bring this up.
Yeah.
You got to decide, how do we do with this? And how do you feel about it? Do you feel comfortable? I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. I don't really have any final words. I feel like it really questions both of you. It questions you, the person asking, but it also questions the woman withholding.
Yeah. So if you've got any suggestions on this story, because it is complex, and I think maybe anybody who's got well versed with the law of Zambia or the law itself, or either way, whoever is listening, can maybe give us some advice on this this predicament.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think maybe we can advise better through the comment section, and hopefully keep the conversation going and see what we have based on this story. So until next time, as we always say, thank you for listening to our podcast. We've come to the end of our podcast. Thank you for listening. We're encouraged by everything. Until next time, we always say like, share, subscribe, and
you've already said it. Share.
Okay. And so until next time, take care and God bless. Bye-bye.
Bye.